The team reconvened in a safe house Samantha had arranged, a small, nondescript apartment far from the bustling city center. The tension in the air was palpable as they reviewed their progress. The warehouse job was a success, Megan began, pacing the room. But Nathan won't sit quietly after that. If anything, we've provoked him. Samantha looked up from her laptop. Rachel just texted me. She's verified most of the evidence and is preparing her article. It could go live as early as tomorrow morning. That's great, Jake said. But what happens until then? He's got people everywhere, and he'll be coming for us hard now. Megan stopped pacing and turned to face them. We end this tonight. Jake raised an eyebrow. What are you talking about? We've been playing defense, waiting for Rachel's story to expose Nathan. But he's still operating as if he's untouchable. If we don't take him down ourselves, even the article won't stop him. Samantha frowned. What's your plan? We hit his core operation, Megan said. The hub where all his smuggling routes converge. If we take that down, we'll cripple his empire in one blow. Jake crossed his arms. And how exactly are we supposed to pull that off? Walk in and ask nicely. No, Megan said, her voice firm. We're going to sabotage it, completely. We'll destroy his inventory, disrupt his communications, and expose everything he's been hiding. By the time we're done, there won't be an operation left for him to rebuild. The safe house buzzed with tension as the plan took shape. Samantha mapped out Nathan's primary hub, a heavily guarded facility hidden in plain sight as a shipping company near the docks. It was the nerve center of his operation, handling everything from illicit shipments to laundering money through fake trade routes. This place is a fortress, Samantha said, zooming in on a satellite image. Security cameras, guards at every entrance, and probably some we can't see. Getting in will be the easy part. Getting out. Megan leaned over the table, her gaze sharp. That's why we need a distraction. Something big enough to keep them occupied while we do the real damage. Jake smirked, finally showing a glimpse of his usual confidence. Leave that to me. I've always wanted to blow something up. Samantha rolled her eyes. No actual explosions, Jake. We don't need to attract the entire city's attention. Relax, Jake said, holding up his hands. I'll set up a diversion that's loud but harmless. Trust me. Megan nodded. Good. While Jake creates chaos, Samantha and I will get inside. We plant the evidence Rachel needs, wipe their records, and destroy their inventory. If we do this right, Nathan's empire crumbles overnight. The team arrived at the docks just past midnight. The air was thick with the smell of salt and oil, and the distant hum of machinery created an eerie backdrop. Jake parked the van a few blocks away and began unloading his distraction kit. All right, he said, pulling out a bag of fireworks and smoke canisters. Give me 10 minutes to set this up. Once the fireworks start, you'll have your opening. Be careful, Samantha said, her tone unusually soft. Jake grinned. Always am. Megan and Samantha crept toward the facility, sticking to the shadows. They waited in silence as Jake's countdown ticked away. Then, without warning, the night exploded into light and sound. Fireworks screamed into the sky, crackling and booming with a brilliance that lit up the docks. Smoke canisters hissed, releasing thick clouds that spread quickly through the area. Shouts erupted from the guards as they scrambled to figure out what was happening. Now's our chance, Megan whispered, motioning for Samantha to follow. Inside the facility, the scale of Nathan's operation became immediately apparent. Crates upon crates lined the walls, labeled with false shipping information. Samantha quickly set to work at a nearby terminal, her fingers flying over the keyboard. I'm in, she said after a few tense minutes. Wiping their inventory records now. Megan moved to the crates, prying one open. Inside were rows of small, carefully packaged items, everything from counterfeit cash to illegal substances. "This stuff can't stay here," Megan muttered. She grabbed a canister of industrial solvent from a nearby shelf and began dousing the contents. Samantha glanced over her shoulder. "They're going to know someone's been here the second they see this." "That's the point," Megan replied. "Nathan thrives on control. If we take that away, he'll fall apart." Outside, the fireworks had stopped, but the confusion lingered. Jake kept moving, tossing more smoke canisters to keep the guards occupied. He was heading back toward the van when a flashlight beam swept across him. "Hey! Stop!" a voice shouted. Jake froze for half a second before bolting. The guard gave chase, his heavy boots pounding against the pavement. "Great plan, Jake," he muttered to himself as he ducked behind a stack of pallets. Back inside, Samantha finished her work. "Done. I've planted a digital trail that ties this place directly to Nathan. If Rachel publishes this, it's game over." "Good," Megan said. "Now let's finish the job." They moved quickly, spilling solvent and cutting wires, ensuring that nothing in the facility could function as intended. Suddenly, a low alarm began to sound. "They've spotted us," Samantha said, her voice tight with panic. Megan grabbed her arm. "We're done here. Let's go." The two women sprinted back toward the exit, their footsteps echoing through the cavernous space. Outside, Jake was waiting near the van, slightly out of breath but grinning. "Miss me?" he said, tossing the keys to Samantha. "No time for jokes," Megan said, shoving him into the van. "Drive." Samantha started the engine and peeled out of the lot just as more guards emerged from the facility, shouting and waving their flashlights. As they sped away, the docks faded into the distance, and the adrenaline slowly began to wear off. "We did it," Samantha said, her voice filled with disbelief. "Not yet," Megan replied. "Nathan's still out there. But this is the beginning of the end." The safe house was filled with an uneasy quiet as the three of them returned, exhausted but relieved. Samantha immediately went to her laptop, double-checking that the evidence she planted in Nathan's system was intact and ready to be sent to Rachel. Jake collapsed onto the couch, his face streaked with soot but wearing a proud grin. Megan stood near the window, peering through the blinds to ensure they hadn't been followed. "How long until Rachel publishes?" Megan asked without turning around. Samantha replied, "She's already preparing it. Should be live within the hour." Jake chuckled softly. "Well, if Nathan wasn't already losing his mind, he will be soon." Megan turned, her expression hard. "This isn't over yet. He won't go down without a fight." Samantha frowned. "What do you mean?" "His entire operation is exposed now." "Exactly," Megan said. "And a man like Nathan doesn't just sit back and watch everything crumble. He'll retaliate, and when he does, it'll be brutal." 2 hours later, Rachel's article went live. The exposé was a masterpiece of investigative journalism, detailing every aspect of Nathan's smuggling ring. It included photos, financial records, and even leaked communications tying him directly to the operation. The fallout was immediate. Social media exploded with outrage, and news outlets picked up the story within minutes. Law enforcement agencies announced investigations, and several of Nathan's known associates began distancing themselves publicly. But Megan's prediction proved correct. It was just after midnight when the attack came. The safe house shook as an explosion tore through the front of the building, throwing Megan and Samantha to the floor. Jake, who had been asleep on the couch, woke up in a panic, coughing as smoke filled the air. "Move!" Megan shouted, dragging Samantha toward the back door. Jake stumbled after them, grabbing a bag of essentials as flames began to lick the walls. Outside, 2 black SUVs screeched to a halt, and armed men spilled out, their flashlights cutting through the smoke. "They found us," Samantha gasped, clutching her laptop tightly. "No kidding," Jake muttered, ducking as a bullet whizzed past. Megan led them through a narrow alley, her mind racing. They couldn't keep running like this. Sooner or later, Nathan's men would catch up. The chase continued through the quiet streets, the sound of footsteps and shouted orders echoing in the distance. Megan's heart pounded as she spotted a fire escape leading up to the roof of a nearby building. "This way," she called, helping Samantha climb up. Jake followed, muttering complaints about his aching legs. Once on the roof, Megan turned to face the others. "We can't keep running. We need to end this now." "And how do you suggest we do that?" Jake asked, panting. "We draw Nathan out," Megan said. "Force him to face us directly." Samantha looked skeptical. "How?" "He's probably surrounded by an army of bodyguards right now." Megan's eyes narrowed. "Not if we give him something he wants more than anything else, us." The plan was risky, but it was their best shot. Megan sent a message to one of Nathan's lieutenants, offering to surrender in exchange for a truce. She deliberately kept the message vague, knowing it would pique Nathan's curiosity. A meeting was arranged at an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city. Megan insisted on going alone, but Jake and Samantha refused to let her face Nathan without backup. "You're stuck with us," Jake said, loading a pistol he'd taken from one of Nathan's guards earlier. "Fine," Megan replied. "But stay hidden until I give the signal." The factory was dark and eerily silent when Megan arrived. Nathan stood in the center of the room, flanked by 2 of his men. His sharp suit and calm demeanor belied the chaos unfolding in his life. "Megan," he said, his voice smooth. "I must admit, you've been quite the thorn in my side." Megan stepped forward, her expression cold. "And you've been quite the parasite, Nathan. But it's over. Your operation is done." Nathan chuckled. "You think a few articles and some missing inventory will stop me? I've built this empire from nothing. I can rebuild it." "Not this time," Megan said, her voice steady. "You're finished." Nathan's smirk faltered slightly, but he quickly recovered. "And what's stopping me from ending this little game right now?" Before Megan could respond, Jake and Samantha sprang from the shadows, weapons drawn. "This," Jake said, aiming his pistol at Nathan. Nathan's men reached for their guns, but Samantha was faster. She fired a warning shot into the air, freezing them in place. "Tell them to drop their weapons," Megan said. Nathan hesitated, then nodded. His men reluctantly complied. "This isn't the end," Nathan said, his voice low and venomous. Megan stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. "Yes, it is." The sound of approaching sirens filled the air. Samantha had tipped off the authorities before they arrived, ensuring Nathan wouldn't have a chance to escape. As the police swarmed the factory, Nathan was arrested along with his men. Megan watched as he was led away in handcuffs, a mixture of relief and exhaustion washing over her. Jake clapped her on the shoulder. "Well, that was dramatic." Samantha smiled faintly. "It's finally over." Megan nodded, but her mind was already racing with thoughts of what came next. For the first time in a long time, the future felt full of possibilities. And just like that, Nathan's empire crumbled, and the team could finally breathe. It wasn't just about taking him down, it was about reclaiming their lives.